called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. Every one of those people is voting for me.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris. The People's Pundit. All right, don't forget, if you like the videos, like them, share them far and wide. And all the links to everything are in the description below. All right, we got a lot to talk about today, so I'm kind of buzzing through. We got to go over the Senate races in some of these battleground states that we didn't get to go over. Obviously, though, that was former President Trump at the Al Smith dinner last night. Typically, both candidates are supposed to be at the Al Smith dinner. Kamala Harris was not there. All right. We're going to do this real quick before we get into the numbers because there's something I want to show, and they're going to make note of this on CNN in this clip I'm going to point out right now. And then there's I'm going to give you my take on watching President Trump, who I've watched do this now a couple of times. I'm going to give you my take on it in a second. But here's actually what Potato Head from CNN thought about it.
Make of this performance.
Oh, no, don't ask me first. I thought he was funny. I thought he actually got a few great jokes in. I thought the best moment was we talked about the assassination attempts and made light of what he's experienced, because I think he's experiencing real trauma, real PTSD as a result of the shootings, but he's still able to have a light moment in this room. And he took advantage of the fact that Kamala Harris wasn't there.
Which is
I
really
was
the
disappointed
subtext
that he
of this
kept,
whole thing.
Exactly. That she
They're
didn't
usually
attend.
supposed to be in the same room.
Also, you could see Chuck Schumer making nicey-nicey with Donald Trump at the Al Smith dinner last night, which is incredible because, of course, the head of the Atlantic today is Donald Trump is Hitler, Mussolini, and I don't know who else, all wrapped up into one. So here on one hand, you have the media joking about this. I mean, hold on. I mean, you guys really have to see this. Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini all wrapped up into one. I'm going to take down the crosstab that I had loaded up to share this just to show this to you. This is a textbook example of why nobody, and then everyone wonders, how could this guy win? How could this guy win? And there you have headlines like this. How many more people have to get shot? I guess like a good man, a pillar of the community, a firefighter, a father. Him getting killed is not enough. The House Majority Whip getting shot with 4 others is not enough. How about kids? A bunch of kids? That's, we already know. They don't give a shit about. So it's laughable. Our institutions are laughable. And it's like, everyone can kind of see behind the curtain here now. You have like George Bush and the Bush family supporting the very people who called for them to be executed for war crimes at The Hague. Like, none of this is serious. Only thing that the voters deem to be serious is how badly the country is declining and how much they are hurting. And then these people have the audacity to do and say what they do and then wonder why people don't take them seriously. You have Chuck Schumer, who of course is Jewish, is sitting there with Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin all wrapped up into one, and yet somehow he doesn't care about his safety. It's ludicrous. The whole damn thing is just ludicrous. If Donald Trump was really a Hitlerian figure, you wouldn't see that. But of course, this is all for show. And unfortunately, while this little performance is being put on, people are being hurt. People are being divided. We played a clip on Wednesday, Mark Halpern saying that if Trump wins, there will be a great mental health breakdown in this country. He is right. But again, that's not any reason not to vote for Trump. I just want to make that out because I know Trump supporters were like, why are you saying that? That's not, and you're right. And I don't mean it like that because it's not your fault. They're crazy. It's not your fault. They're deluded. Because let me just warn you, on the flip side of this, if the right feels like they've had another election stolen from them, they may just take down a lot more than a couple windows next time. Who knows? How about we just stop calling each other Hitler and have a debate of ideas? And whoever wins based on the debate of ideas is the legitimate winner. And that's the way this used to be run in this country. Anyway, you can hear it. You can hear it in the Democrats' voice. You can hear it in Donald Trump's tone yesterday at the Al Smith dinner. Very clearly, I don't know about you guys, and if you have been around for a long time, but I am telling you right now, that sounded like Donald Trump from 2016 to me. Donald Trump went up there and cracked a bunch of jokes. At least Hillary had the gall to sit near him. And they, this is typically a thing that the both candidates do together. But Trump looks incredibly chipper. He looks incredibly confident. He's having the time of his life. He's out there dancing in from Pennsylvania to Georgia. He's doing his little Trump shake. All right. And then you have the Kamala campaign, which is pointing fingers, blaming each other. You have Democratic pollsters like Doug Schoen going on Fox News and basically saying what everybody knows, because of course Doug Schoen is a pollster, a Democratic pollster. And what he is saying is that Kamala is in the middle of a free fall in the Midwest. And I'm not saying it's not going to be close, but I'm telling you there is a very, very clear trend right now in the polling, and the question at like the safe bet at this point, because I see people like Emerson, Harris +1. I mean, the trend is like Harris +5, Harris +4, Harris +3, Harris +2, Harris +1. It's like they're not pollsters. They're like freaking countdown clocks or something. All right. We'll see if that's their last poll. It looks like it is. But they'll do a round of Battleground state polls next. Even the tip poll, it was up to what? Harris +5. Now we're down to Harris +2. That's Loserville. Everybody knows population Kamala Harris. We're approaching Loserville with red flashing lights. Population Kamala Harris. Maybe her old bunkmate will be Hillary Clinton or something. Okay, because I'm not trying to be a wise guy. Of course, anything can happen, and they have a huge ground game, but everybody knows it. Let's cut the shit. The numbers are moving so fast against her. It's October 18. I don't know if we could catch it all. Maybe they'll do something in the final weeks. But the problem is Democrats are fighting over what is always called a closing argument. They have struggled for the entire time she's been in the race. When the media is not running the Democratic campaign, Democrats don't seem to know how to run campaigns anymore. They can chase ballots, and they're very good at that. But they leave up the push, the propaganda, and the persuasion part of the campaign to the media. And corporate media does it for them, which is why I've long argued, forget about calling bias out on corporate media. Corporate media is guilty of felonies, okay? Campaign finance violations. You are not allowed to give free services to a political party and their candidates and committees. You are not allowed to do it. If I ran a poll for any politician, Democrat or Republican, and I did not charge them for that poll, I would be charged with a campaign finance crime. Okay. It is called an in-kind campaign contribution. In any event, when the media is not doing that, because they have been doing it, and yes, she hasn't had staying power. And I told you this, 2 weeks ago, that this is what the media does. They will begin to turn on you. If you are the Democratic nominee and they deliver all of this extra help and fluff to you, if you cannot close the deal, they will turn on you. The way they turned on Michael Dukakis, the way they turned on Hillary Clinton, they even to some extent began to turn on Al Gore, and they certainly turned on John Kerry. They will turn on you because they feel that you have gotten all the help in the world and you must be a schmuck, and now we're going to blame you for having to deal with 4 years of a Republican. So guess what? We're blaming you, and we're making sure that you will never hold higher office again. Headline in Politico today. Harris campaign and surrogates pointing fingers in the battleground states. Look, there's a chunk of Hispanic votes in the Midwest, in these Midwestern states. They're gone for her in Michigan. Gone. Gonski. But in Pennsylvania, Hispanics have tended to be more liberal. And they're finger pointing again now in Politico. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. And they are saying, well, somebody better do something. Well, guess what? It's less than 3 weeks to go. What are you going to do? This on top of young black men. Well, maybe you should not have sent Barack Obama to the Keystone State to lecture young black men who don't live in Martha's Vineyard with Barack Obama. And his wife, who doesn't work and has never worked a day in her life of real work. Why don't you stop lecturing people? Shut your damn mouth for a minute, open your ears, and listen to what they have to say. Because this, you can see it in the CNN panel every night. They don't want to hear it. They just want to know why you're too stupid. Listen, I'm talking to you guys out there. I'm talking to all of you Hispanics who have turned your back on the Democratic Party. I'm talking to black and apparently many female voters under the age of 45. CNN wants to know why you're too damn stupid to understand what they're saying. Sure, they invite people like Ryan on to try to explain it, but every time he tries to, they just talk over him and then get back to the heart of the question. Why are you so stupid? So they wonder why all of these trends are moving against them in this direction. Look, don't take it from the People's Pundit. Here is Democratic pollster Doug Schoen. Here is another headline for Politico. Pennsylvania is such a mess. Inside Team Harris, unusual levels of finger pointing. And let me read this quote before Doug Schoen gets brought on into the Ingram angle here. You ready? Quote, I feel like we're going to win here, but we're going to win it in spite of the Harris state campaign, said a Democratic elected official in the state. Pennsylvania is such a mess, and it's incredibly frustrating. I mean, you could feel like you're going to win all you want. We'll see what happens there. I'm going to show you the latest polling in a little bit. The fact of the matter is, have you seen the latest in the voting numbers? Democrats are not voting. They are not voting in the numbers they have voted in 2020. Forget about it. And it's like, well, we don't expect it to be 2020. Well, except Republicans are. Republicans are. And I'm going to show you again in a second, all of these new first-time voters in Pennsylvania and in Michigan, targeted in places where Republicans need them to be. They are not Democratic voters by majority. Of course, you're going to have some kind of a margin. These people are voting for Trump. Campaign consultant from Derry, Indiana, and he was on two-way, and he's trying to tell Mark, like, I don't understand what the hell these people don't understand. I don't get what they don't get. And the polls are going to be all wrong because look at their samples. Their samples are, the recalled vote is ridiculous. And this is like I want to say he was like a steel mill turned Democratic consultant, political consultant. This guy's seen both sides of the fence, is my point. And he actually said to give up on the working class vote. You cannot win it. Give up on it. She's not Joe Biden, and she's not going to do anywhere near as well as she needs to do with them. Just try to depress them and turn out your liberal base and your educated, affluent, white, yuppie base. What we used to call WASPs and silk stocking Republicans. Turn them out the best you can because you're not going to change anybody's mind. Well, I don't know if I agree with that or not. I don't like abandoning voters, but he makes a good point. And he also made the point that look at the recalled vote in the polls. This is going to be a big miss. He may be right about this. Honestly, I listened to him and it was some pretty profound stuff because the fact of the matter is two things are going on. One is a quick trend, and it's so hard as a pollster. Like everyone wants us to be perfect and everyone wants us to be like spot on. But the fact of the matter is when things do move at the end, it is sometimes difficult to catch the full scope of it. All right. It appears Harris has a ceiling and she's bumped into the top of that ceiling. Trump got who was undecided over the last couple of weeks. It looks like what remains as the undecided vote is a little bit more Harris, but we've seen this before. It looked that way with Clinton in 2016. She didn't get it. And his point is they're not going to vote. That's his point. The Trump hate isn't what it used to be. And the first-time voter is a Trump voter, unlike 2020. And when you look at the question, did you vote in 2020 or not? The no's are Trumpy, and the yeses, and I voted for Joe Biden's are not all coming out. And that's a real problem. All right, let's play this clip.
Doug Schoen, Democratic pollster and strategist. Doug, My feeling on this is when people start finger pointing inside the party at, when you're 20 days out, that's never a good sign.
It's, in fact, Laura, you're absolutely right, a very bad sign. I'm picking up from my Democratic friends and sources precisely what you're reporting. The so-called blue wall of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania is eroding for the Democrats. There is a level of disorganization on the ground and incoherence vis-a-vis the messaging that is clear. And what I'm picking up is that the Harris campaign really doesn't have a closing message or strategy, as we, I think, saw in Brett Baer's interview with Kamala Harris today.
She doesn't have it. That
Yeah,
was the
her
day the
points on
Harris
the economy didn't really hit home. And the number one issue, she still doesn't really have an answer, except saying, look at my plan on my website.
Yeah, and there is not a clear sense as to what she's going to do different than Joe Biden, which, as you point out, close to 60% of America has made them feel worse off. She hasn't articulated a coherent plan, and it's frankly perfectly logical that she would say different times, different circumstances, different plan. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what Trump's doing. Vote for me. She hasn't done it, and I don't have a sense, Laura, she's going to do it.
Oh, she only has 20 days left.
Little late.
People are voting in so many states across the country. Do you think this interview helped her at all, marginally, or not at all?
I don't think it helped at all. I think she felt she'd reach some swing voters. But to me, the absence of clear answers, the real sense of, confusion to perfectly logical questions that Brett asked, to me, suggests that it underscored all the issues and concerns the few undecided swing voters have. Don't think it helped a bit, and it may well hurt her.
All right, let's just stop there. Don't think it helped a bit, and it may hurt her. She doesn't have a closing message. All right. I've been telling you for weeks that there have been things that some of these Kamala curious voters, as On Point said when we talked. I think he's 100% right with that. They're not huge on Trump. They're not super Trumpy, but they think he can do the job right, and that he's less risky to that at this point because they've heard Kamala's liberal. They've heard she's not, competent. Is she competent? Does she have a plan? How's she going to be different than Joe Biden? Brett just kept pushing her on this, and she didn't answer it in any real way. He not only that, but he showed her prior answers. He gave her her own prior answers during 60 Minutes, during Stephen Colbert. And what are you going to do? He gave her another opportunity to fix it. Everyone thinks, oh, Brett was so hard on her. The Murdochs want Harris to win. They own Fox. They own the Wall Street Journal. They own the New York Post. There is no conservative media and corporate media. Most of that, unless you're watching Laura Ingraham, who was anti-Trump even before he won the nomination. If you're not watching Hannity, it's all a bunch of people who put on a really good act. They want Kamala Harris to win, including members of the board who actually put their name to a piece of paper. In any event, he gives her this opportunity again, and she blows it. Now, let's get down to the fundamentals here. Actually, before we go into the Pennsylvania poll, here's the update on what Barnes and I have been trying to tell you about Gallup Party ID with leaners versus the result. This is what's called significantly, or no, what do they call it? Highly or strongly predictive in Gallup's predictive indicators. Here is the quarterly party average self-identification going back to 2000. I figured we don't need to go back to 92. We've done that already on what are the odds. I'm just simply giving you an update here since we have the next and latest result. And actually, that is wrong. It is actually R+4. Excuse me. Yes, it's R+4. For some reason, that is absolutely incorrect. It's 49.45, but whatever. We'll fix it later. I just noticed that. I don't know. I may have jotted it down wrong, so it's my fault either way. So bottom line is, however, as you can tell, It has tended to have an era that slightly favors Republicans, but not outside the era this much. In 2004, you could see that the trend, however, and this is what's really most predictive, the trend from the prior year moved toward Republicans. Guess what? It was the Republican Bush won the popular vote 2.5 points. There was absolutely no, or honestly, no marginal error there. In 2000, it had moved from a significantly Democratic electorate to D+5. With it, moved the popular vote. Gore still won it, but he lost the Electoral College. Going to 2008, it became a D+8 electorate. Democrats nearly won it, the popular vote by that much. Obama won by 7.3%. And I don't have to go through it with you. You can see it from here. Gallup's party ID in 2016, when Trump won, was D+3. All right. And, as you can tell, the delta was about 3 points. All right. The difference between it was about 2. So, in 2024, now we're seeing a shift back toward Republicans. It would suggest Trump would win the popular vote by, I am not as bullish as Barnes. All right. I don't think that. I do think it's possible that Trump can win the popular vote. I just don't think it's by 3.5, 4 points. I'm not sure that's even possible. If it is, I will eat crow, like not a legit crow, but I will come on and say I was wrong, as I always do. I just think that the most likely scenario is anywhere between like Kamala +2 to a Trump +1. And he could win by 2 points for sure. He could win the popular vote by 2, 2.5, maybe hovering under 3, but that depends how he does in big blue states. All right. However, back to the bipolar nature of polling. If that is the case, there is no way he's going to lose the Electoral College. I mean, that would be insane. Everyone's arguing now that Kamala can do it if she wins the popular vote by 2, 2.5. I don't know where they're getting this from outside of the midterm electorate. A midterm electorate is not a presidential electorate. It is not. They are different. It is a lot less educated. Number one, it is especially a lot less educated in the battleground states. And here is why the argument that Trump's going to win the popular vote but lose the Electoral College the way Republicans did is kind of just ludicrous on its face. Anything is possible, but the missing voter from a midterm to a presidential cycle is a Trump voter, and they are concentrated in those battleground states. So it would make no sense that he would do so much better with white college-educated voters, but yet somehow do poorly among those non-college voters that are going to come out in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Iowa, in Wisconsin, in Minnesota. Get out of here. The missing voter in Minnesota, about 300,000 of them from the midterm to the presidential, is a non-college vote. Let's put up Pennsylvania and see where the mood of the electorate is and what is driving. Ooh, where's my fly killer? I got this electrical fly killer. It looks like a tennis racket. And you swing it and kill these flies. It's getting cold out. They think they're going to like what? Find a nice place? Go outside and die with the rest of you disgusting things. Anyway, moving on. What is moving some of this? And also CDMpoll.com. You can go and you can check out a lot more about Pennsylvania. Moving forward, though, it is going to be only the public polling projects, which I have some interviews I'd like to show you that are newer. The reason I want to show you is to show you how remarkably consistent all of this is, with the exception of a very tiny sliver deciding. Yet, especially the mood, the issues of importance, they're really just not moving. All right. They're just not. Everything is basically staying where it has been. And let me see if I can add. Yeah, there's most important issue. Let's start with that after we do the Senate. And then let's, where are we? Let's do inflation, since that's the number one. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. I gave it away. Oh, you know this already, the locals. You know this, right? You know this already. Indeed you do. Indeed you do. All right, let's put the top 4 issues in the crosstab. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, so that's going to move it back to likely and all. We'll start with the whole crosstab first, and then we'll get back to it. First and foremost, let's go to the Senate race. Bob Casey has a lead among all registered voters. This lead is, as you know, locals, from the last time we did this. This is a much smaller lead. Interestingly enough, this is an entire registered voter universe. When you go to the likely voter universe, of course, what happens? Undecideds fall dramatically. These are people who are the most likely to vote. There simply aren't that many undecideds remaining anymore. Anybody in the teens at this point is showing you like a larger overall population, and it's a cop out. It's a cop out. It's your job as a pollster to tell people who you think are going to vote. If you're wrong, you're wrong. End of story. All right. So without pushing these undecideds, we get Casey 47, McCormick 44. The unlikely vote is slightly for Casey, which you can tell here. That's the difference between the overall registered voter population and the likely. However, with leaners, Dave McCormick, can we add leaners, please? Yes, I will show the leaners. Where are they? Senate leaners. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to add it. There we go. I would like to show you guys the leaners to show you just how much Dave McCormick won leaners in the last, let me refresh it. How much Dave McCormick won leaners in the last, it's updating still, week or so. How fast this race has tightened for U.S. Senate. Here we go. Let's refresh. There it is. All right, here's Senate leaners, likely versus unlikely. All right, overall, McCormick won leaners 51.1 to 48.9. That's great and everything. But among likely voters, he won them 57 to 43. All right, so putting that together with leaners, the race is extremely close. Even among the registered voter sample, it's only Casey 51.8 to 48.2. And among the likely voter sample, it is 51.2 for Casey to 48.8. Folks, that is nothing if Trump wins the state. If that is Casey's lead over McCormick currently, and you can see, by the way, the unlikely vote is Casey. Part of what's going on here is that Casey's name recognition is higher, all right, among people who just aren't very likely to vote. Pumpkin coffee break. Hold on. I love pumpkin. I love pumpkin everything. I love pumpkin cakes. I love pumpkin cookies. I love pumpkin seeds. I love pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin coffee. I love pumpkin cream. Pumpkin. Anyway, love fall. I'm a huge fan of fall. When my birthday is, I think it's in my DNA. Anyway, as you can tell with likely voters, it's super, super close. And it comes from McCormick. Look, is it the debate, Rich? Is it this? Is it that? I don't really know. I think the bottom line is Republicans have the wind at their back because they have the issues at their back. And Democrats are going to need to rely on a get out the vote superiority to stop the momentum. How much could a get out the vote be worth? Could be worth 3 points. A good solid get out the vote could be worth 3 points. It really could. The problem is, and I have knowledge of both sides' efforts. I have not that I'm working for both sides or any side really in any campaign. I just know what both sides are doing. And in the case of one, I literally had the source data. So I'm just telling you, Republicans aren't doing nothing. And I think that you can see that in some of these numbers. Normally, they would just rely on Trump being the turnout machine that he is, and that would hopefully pull up Pat Toomey across the finish line, right? Or Ron Johnson across the finish line. Or, in 2020, when they didn't navigate out. Ooh, hiccups. They didn't navigate out the vote. They relied on, Trump and his get out the vote to just pull people like John James across the finish line, and they both fell shy of it. That is not the case this year. It's just not. And there are voters that a lot of people almost certainly are screening out. All right, let's get to the mood of the electorate, though. Here's Pennsylvania. It is in alphabetical order. I will move it later. All right, but as you can see, inflation and cost of living is far and away the most important issue relative to their vote. The overall registered voter sample is 37.8. It's slightly higher, 38.5 among those who are likely to vote, and 30.9 among those who are not. Second most important issue is general economy and jobs. 15%, 14.9 among the registered voter sample, and 14.7 among the likely voter sample. The third most important issue is a very right on the heels of the economy and jobs, and that is a problem for Harris. It is immigration and border security, not abortion. Abortion has fallen to fourth consistently, whether it's nationwide or it is in the states. She's going to win these voters almost, she's going to win them by a very large margin, but he's going to win immigration and border security by a very large margin. So that leaves the two top issues, which are all economic in nature. Let's see who they trust to handle that. Harris had, don't I have that here? Yes. Harris had started to close the gap, even in some polls, take the lead on who people trust to handle these issues. Overall registered voter population is still pretty close. It's Trump +6 on inflation and cost of living, but it is not Trump +6 when it comes to the likely voter sample, 51.4 to 43.8. So Trump's lead is a little bit bigger among those who are more likely to vote. That's inflation and cost of living. On the economy and jobs, a very, very similar margin. Trump 49 to 43 among those who are overall registered population, 51 to 44 among those who are most likely. The third most important issue, and I'm going in order here, okay? The third most important issue, wow. Among all registered voters, they trust Trump to handle the immigration issue, 55.8 to 35 flat. And among all likely voters, it is 58 to 35.8. Wow. That is a very big margin. And even though it's only the third most important issue, it is still very close to jobs in the economy. And if he wins it by that kind of a margin, it's going to be pretty devastating for her. All right, now going to abortion, though. That's Harris's, and it's Harris's by a slightly less margin, especially among likely voters. Harris is, trusted to handle the abortion issue, by a significant margin, but the margin is smaller than they trust to handle Trump over immigration and border security. Why does that matter? Because they're peripheral issues. All right. Immigration is actually the tertiary, and then you have abortion behind it. So you would want, if you are Harris, you would want to win those who say abortion is their number one issue by a larger margin than Trump is winning those who say that immigration issues are their number one issue. Why? Because you need to cancel it out. That would be true regardless of what the other two top 1 and 2 issues are doing. Unfortunately for Harris, the inflation and economic situation is kind of slipping away from her again. It was getting much closer, even in, as you guys remember, even in some of our polls, not just media polls, not just university polls. It was very clear that Trump was holding on to like 2 and 3 point leads on some of these. And now it's widening out again. Right. So I think what was going on is that some people just didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know whether or not they know Trump can do it. They just didn't know whether or not Harris would be, better at it than Biden, different than Biden. And they gave her ample opportunity to make that case. And she didn't. I mean, that's the bottom line. She just simply did not make that case. All right. So it seems like it's swinging back to Trump, those two issues. Let's see what else. Let's throw a couple other ones in there, shall we? Let's do labor and union. This is a state that favors Harris, ironically, and we could be wrong about this. I mean, it's very possible. But ironically, Michigan was more favorable to Trump on labor issues. It probably has to do with the car situation in general. However, look at labor and union issues. They trust Harris 47 to 43, and then among likely voters, it's only 47.8 to 44. If you are the Democratic candidate, you cannot have a freaking 4-point lead on labor and union issues. I mean, that is absolutely catastrophic. You need to start building up leads on these issues that are traditionally Democratic issues, because when you have small amounts that start to make their decision and they say, you know what, I'm going to do what's best for my union, right? This is always what is kind of like salvage Democrats in these areas, in the Rust Belt. There's another one I want to show you too, which is another absolute catastrophe for her. Preserving Social Security and Medicare. As you can see, among the overall state, it's 47.5 trusting Harris and 40.4 trusting Trump. But with those who are going to vote, look at that. 48.8 to 42. With men actually being even and women only giving her like about a 10-point edge. That's not Barack Obama's margin, ladies and gentlemen. That is certainly not Barack Obama's margin. Let me see. Can I do this without making it so? I mean, do I have to take a second to actually make it pretty, or can we just show the whole damn thing? I think we can show. Okay. So this is going to, I'm going to hear it with this result. Okay. I'm going to hear it. I know I am. I'm not going to make this pretty yet. I'm just going to show you guys what it is. All right. Is it in here? Yeah, it is. It's saved. Okay. I'll make it pretty later and I'll put it up there. But before I go forward here, I told you that around the time when they started to engage in lawfare against Donald Trump, Democrats began, and we're not the only ones, even like the great Ann Seltzer showed this, Democrats began to lose control over the threats to democracy narrative. Why? Because 2 years ago, when they started, when they would say that, when voters would hear threats to democracy, the image that would appear in their brain, it was an image of January 6th and Donald Trump potentially like not giving up the peaceful transfer of power, not going through with it, even though of course he peacefully transferred power. I'm not gonna, whatever. All right. Now they squandered that advantage, because when people hear threats to democracy, that is no longer the predominant image that comes to the minds of voters. Attempting to kill political figures comes to the mind of voters. Attempting to imprison political leaders and your opponents, like Vladimir Putin does, comes to the mind of voters. Putting them in a position where if they don't win the presidency, they will die behind bars, comes to the minds of voters. So what once used to be 20 or more point advantage, often it would be like 30, 35, is now nothing. Here is trust to handle threats to democracy and corruption. 44.9% for Harris, 43.2% for Trump. That's overall. That's the overall registered voter population, with 7.8% saying neither. However, among likely voters, it is only 46 to 45.2, with only 6.2% saying neither, and a paltry 2.6% being 24 people that we interviewed out of everybody else. So the issue is essentially a tie. Harris is attempting to close, I don't know what the hell her closing argument is. Before it was, it's a new day, hope. We're living on hope. I take my hope in my ass every day. I take a shot of hope in the left ass cheek. I don't know what it is. I'm obviously mocking it because I can't define what the hell that means. Okay. And neither can they, which is why, I know what you're doing.
No, the water pipe broke in our daughter's school, so
What? Are you sure there aren't votes there and Democrats broke the water pipe to make sure that there can't be votes? And that is that an early voting location? And because it's R plus 32 over there, they broke the damn water pipe.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a test run.
Here we go. Water pipes are busting. And I'm telling you, it's still not going to do anything. This isn't 2020. They can't stop this one. I'm telling you, they can't. There's too many. Like, I used to have to, every pollster used to have to take great care to make sure they found the Trump vote in 2020. All right. Now it's hard not to find the Trump vote. All right. It's a totally different animal. And in 16, the same thing. And just because I think there's a few people that I trust, and there's especially some old school people that I trust because, you know, they say polling is part art, part science, and that's absolutely true. You know, so there's like people I once in a while will confide in. These one of them's dead, unfortunately, so I can't do that anymore. But even though there's a good friend left behind in the industry, and once in a while I'll call him. And this is like, I don't know if I should read back what I got. But the bottom line is, like, you've heard me say this a lot. There's these like myths out there. The right likes to defeat themselves and they like start making up things like, what if Democrats do this and like steal it and that. And the only thing that can, I really do think this, that the only thing that can defeat the right this time is themselves. Right? Kevin McCarthy and his little shenanigans cost them a lot in 22. They really defeated themselves in a lot of these races. In the past, in the last 2 times Trump was on the ballot, one time he basically saved them from defeating themselves. The other time he came really damn close in the face of like historic odds and undertakings that nobody has ever seen before. And this time he's more popular than he's ever been, and his vote is so clear. It's so obvious, even with response biases, you can see it, and you can see it stronger. And to me, it looks like it's stronger than it's ever been. And yet you can't help but to wonder whether or not the right has the ability to defeat themselves. Right. But the bottom line is, out of the discussion of that poll, like, this is a little concerning to me because I've never seen a Trump +3 in Michigan. I've never seen, even in Pennsylvania, I've never seen a Trump +3 in Pennsylvania or close to 3, even among likely voters. Typically, Trump's down a little bit among all the registered voters. You have to figure out who's going to vote. You got to find the socially awkward or socially skeptic. I don't even know, the shy voter. You got to find them. You got to make sure groups are represented. They're just more willing this time. And yet there are still groups who aren't, which gives you the impression that you may very well understate his vote. He may make you look stupid. I mean, it's like, we normally don't see this stuff. And that's because what I think is going on is that Kamala's closing message isn't the right one. And I don't know how you find a different. You can pivot and try to make another closing argument, but at this point you're just getting confusing. It was hope, then it was healthcare. I kid you not. I mean, there was back-to-back advertisements with this, obviously, or in a recognition that she's having problems with young black men. It was narrated by a young black male who was talking about how Trump wants to take his Obamacare away and how much that would hurt his family. And then, that runs for a week and it goes back to Trump's unstable and this and that. And he's a threat to democracy. Well, that ship has kind of sailed. And the only way that would work is if you get like a midterm electorate where there's more educated voters that believe that bullshit and they go out and they vote at a higher rate and the Trump voter just stays home. But that has never happened before. They're going to come out for this guy. Can you imagine a scenario where she gets all of these yuppies to come out and vote for her because they are high propensity voters. They are. So all the yuppies come out and vote for Harris, but Trump's vote doesn't come out after they tried to kill him. Not once, but twice, maybe a third time we don't know enough about yet. Could you imagine a scenario where these people don't vote? Shit. I can't. I think that's a friggin' joke. I think it's laughable. I don't think anybody who's making it should even be seriously entertained. I just don't. Right now, oh my God, ECU even has Trump up. Okay. Yeah, look at that. ECU's good. They try real hard. They have screwed up even their own state the last couple of elections. They did get Ted Budd right. But they had Hillary and Biden both winning the state of North Carolina, and they obviously did not. And I was on Talk of the Town. Henry Hinton's a local kind of like radio celebrity over here. Patrick Johnson's his co-host. And I'm on talking to Patrick this morning, and I made the point, and I really feel like it has to be made over and over and over again because I'm seeing these Trump +3 to 6s in Georgia, and yet these Harris +1s to Trump +1s or 3s in North Carolina. And I feel it is incumbent on me to remind you again that in the Trump era, North Carolina has polled to the left of Georgia, but it has voted to the right. That is true of 16. That is true of 18 in specials. That is true of 20. And that is true of 22. Sometimes Walker would have 7-8 point leads. He wound up losing by a single point. Bud barely began to show 2 to 4 point leads at the end there. Obviously, North Carolina, there was a red wave. Nobody talked. It's like the invisible red wave. Florida and North Carolina completely told the rest of the battleground states to stick it up their you-know-whats, and they voted overwhelmingly Republican. Both state Supreme Court seats went to Republicans. Republicans swept both the upper and lower chamber. They won the Senate race comfortably. The guys at ECU try to do a good job. They really do. So it looks like Georgia's off the damn map. Vance is actually popular now, and Harris and Walz are negative. See, why am I raising my voice? Because we got Vance +2 in Pennsylvania, and that's all there is to it. All right? He was unpopular for a time being there, and now he's 47-45 among registered voters and 49.5 to 47.2 among likely voters. They like him. They got to know him or something. Walz is like, who is this Elmer Fudd dude? Even Trump is favorable in this ECU poll. Good, yeah. I mean, in the Rust Belt, it's always very close with Trump. 48.5. I mean, look, that's as popular as he's ever been. I mean, that's just where we're at. Man, it's 12:52 already. Come on, man. Let me find you guys a video you guys can watch while we take a modest break here. What are we at on RCP as of Trump 1.0 in North Carolina and 0.9 before the ECU poll in Georgia? That's going to change, though. I'm telling you, North Carolina is very. Sorry. Fraud alert. Should we get the little sirens? We need sirens. Where are my sirens? Oh my God. Listen, I'm not even going to show it. I'm not going to show it. The guy is a total grifter. He's a total grifter. I'm not going to show it. I just think it's hilarious that just happened right in front of my eyes. Looks like, I don't know why everyone's dumping final polls on October 18th. There's a tracking poll by Remington Research. It is Harris +1 now, and that is it. Listen, Harris +1's not going to do it. Trump's going to win this election. If that's the case, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you guys now, so you better get prepared for it. I don't see a universe where Trump can win by 1 point. And is that Emerson's final too? So now we have 4 final polls that are Trump +1, a Fox poll that are Harris +1. We have a Fox poll, which is Trump +2. Rasmussen, I believe, is tied at this point. So we'll just have to see. Active vote is now Trump +2.2. Atlas Intel is Trump +3. We're all of this. Kind of reminds me of Bush v. Kerry in 2004. How it was just like, we're going to stay real close, but like everyone knows this outlet is more favorable and wants this candidate to win, or this pollster does. So this candidate, this outfit is putting their favorite candidate within striking distance of what is, but they're winning, but they're winning by like a margin according to the sampling error that they could technically still lose. It's like this is the most bullshit cop out year I have seen a long time in public polling, folks. I mean, maybe it is tied. We'll have our own final poll. Ours is, I was going over this with Mark Mitchell. Where is the latest? Hold on. I was going over this with Mark Mitchell. Harris before leaners. This is as of last night. Harris 48.1. Trump, I kid you not, don't laugh. Harris 48.1. Trump 47.9. And then with leaners, it is Trump 49.9. Harris 49.7. That's how close it is. I mean, when a race is that close, so I guess I just feel like their state polls don't match their national polls. So I can understand a national poll being that close. But if the national poll is that close, then folks, there's just no way. There's no way the Electoral College is going to be that close. Unless, of course, Trump is doing so much better with white educated voters that he's going to keep New York within 10, but lose Pennsylvania. Cue the hand gesture. Cue the People's Pundits' vulgar hand gesture that Laura won't let him make on camera. That is not the middle finger. It's just, it's laughable, folks. It's laughable. Where is the clip I'm trying to show you guys so I can go take my break here? Doesn't look like I'm going to get it. There's a longer one. Trump is going to McDonald's. He's going to work the fryer. I kid you. No, I'm not. I kid you not. I think he's doing this because Kamala Harris claimed that she worked in McDonald's and everyone knows she's full of shit. Listen, all right. So Kamala Harris was I don't know. I mean, everyone's got their own different type, but like a cute woman, younger woman, attractive younger woman. You don't remember, like you couldn't find one guy who remembers working the fryer with her at McDonald's. Guys, when I was young, okay, and thankfully Laura's I am out of Laura's physical reach. When we were young, I had this job that I got during the summer, I believe. Right. It was like the summer after high school. And it was going out of business. It was on Route 9 in Jersey called Frank's Nursery. Of course, I turned it into a never mind. Look, everything must go. That's all I could say. Everything must go. Everything must go. Out the Anyway, I remember this adorable girl who worked at the cash register outside all summer long. I remember her name. I remember what she looked like. I remember to this day. There's no way on planet Earth that you can't find somebody who worked the fryer with Kamala Harris when they were like 16 years old. All right? No chance. The only buns that woman has ever flipped. Never mind. Never mind. It didn't happen. So I think Trump personally, not only does he love McDonald's, and he does love McDonald's, and he loves visiting the people, that do this work. All right. I think he's going to do this as a way of like just mocking Kamala Harris too. I really believe that. I think he's like, I'm going to go do something Kamala has never done, and yet, of course, claims she has done, which is flip burgers and work the fryer at McDonald's. She's never done it. Get real. I think he's going to go take his finger and poke her in the eye over it. All right, we'll be back. We also have to look at the Michigan Senate race. Mike Rogers getting very, very, very close. It is basically a dead heat in Michigan now. I wonder if McCormick's going to be able to catch. It's weird. It's like the polling is weird this year. It's going from the west to the east. Normally, Pennsylvania looked like it was the strongest by polling. It always looked like it was the strongest for Trump. And now this time, it's like, I haven't done Wisconsin in a while, but I know what I'm hearing, and that is that Hovda's the one who started to show movement first. Hovda's the one who took a lead against Tammy Baldwin in internal polling first. Dave McCormick, I don't know if I want to rip it out, but I know what his internal polls show. We're very close to Dave McCormick's internal polls. So it's like this time, Michigan and Wisconsin really went first. Rogers is closing the gap. But can Rogers do better in Oakland to counteract how much worse he's going to do in the Obama-Trump counties in the Southeast? That's the question. Or will Trump just drag him over and it'll be a typical Trump dynamic where at the end of the day, in some of these states, the GOP candidates will do marginally better than Trump because they get more from the Trump coalition than Trump ever gets from them. That has not appeared to be the case this entire cycle. He has ran significantly ahead of these candidates for the better part of a year and a half. Even going back to 22, when we would poll, when Oz was down by 4 against Fetterman in the CDM poll that we did. When he was down by 4, Trump was up by 7. When Walker was up by 1, Trump was up by 9. When Masters was down by 4, Trump was up by 5, right? When Ron Johnson was up by 2, Trump was up by 4. So he was always running ahead of these candidates. This has been going on for a while. It is possible towards the end that changes and we go back to the typical dynamic with the occasional exception like Kelly Ayotte. There was many examples of this, but the occasional, I mean over time, which is like Kelly Ayotte was polling way better than Donald Trump in New Hampshire. She was going to hold on. He was going to get routed by Hillary Clinton, except they both lost. But the difference was Donald Trump barely lost and Kelly Ayotte lost by a greater margin. So her stepping away from Donald Trump cost her the Senate race in New Hampshire and cost Republicans a Senate seat. Mark Kirk got slaughtered in Illinois. I got to run away from Donald Trump to be able to hold on. Had he stuck with Donald Trump, he probably would have been able to hold on. All right. Ron Johnson, he did not run away from Donald Trump. His race was the first to be called that night. Pat Toomey didn't run away, but he also didn't embrace. And what happened? Pat Toomey got the benefit of the northeastern Lackawanna voter and the southwestern Beaver County voter, but he also got some of the Delco area that Trump did not. He did not spread the wealth, so Toomey was called too. Trump won as well, the state, but Toomey was called first. And he was supposed to get his ass kicked by McGinty, by the way. I don't want to waste time going down memory lane, but like take a second and go back and look through like this, the spring, the summer, the fall, and you look right at the last minute when McGinty began to lose steam. We're seeing it now. We're just seeing it. It's October 18th. We're now less than 3 weeks out, and I would venture to say that by the time we got to the 3-week mark, Harris was beginning to look as poor and slipping the way Hillary Clinton looked 3 days out. I guess we're just going to be done here. We're just going to have all these people who are just going to drop their final poll in the first week to the middle of October. And they don't intend to poll the rest of the cycle. They don't intend to poll, even though they all have a long-standing history of doing an 11-1, 11-2 final. Why would that be? Why would they do that? Why would Maris do that? When does Maris usually release their final poll? Go look at it. Go look. When does Pew Research do it? Cue the hand gesture that Laura won't let me make on camera. That's not a middle finger. I wish you would. All right, let's talk about Trump on Fox and Friends. Let me take a break. We'll be back in a hot second.
President, I got a question for you. Either today or tomorrow, you're going to McDonald's. You're going to be working the fryer. Are you going to wear the paper hat?
I'm going to do everything. I tell you what.
You're going to do
A friend of mine
He's
owns
going to
That's Burger King jack off.
do it.
McDonald's someplace. Oh, I'm going. Because she lied.
You don't think she ever worked at McDonald's?
I know she did. We checked it out. Unless somebody comes up with something. We checked it out. They said she never worked here. She even picked the store. We went to the manager. The manager's been there forever. You remember her? No, she never worked here. They know. Okay.
No,
So will you wear the paper hat?
And you know who I'll stop talking about it? The press. If I said I worked at McDonald's and it turned out not to be true, this
the
would
biggest story
the
ever.
front page of that stupid New York Times, the worst paper. It is the worst rag. The New York Times is the worst. They would have me front page for months. Nobody, I can't get any. That's why I have to do it myself. That's why I'm
So
doing.
you're going to get trained and you're going to make French fries.
I don't know how much the training will be.
Not too much salt.
Not going to be. Oh,
Just fill it about that much.
I love that show. I love this.
That salt is so bad for you. You know it. That salt is so bad for you. Oh my God. We got another one because I'm not exactly done with my so-called break where all I really want to do is drink a glass of water here. But yeah, that salt is not good for you. McDonald's is not good for you. Trump, you should not be doing that stuff. He loves McDonald's. But again, like, look at him. Look at him. And then look at Harris. Who do you think is telling you the truth? I mean, or like, not even that. Forget about who's telling you the truth. Which is more likely, all right, considering how the candidates are behaving, which is more likely? A bunch of polls who are now showing basically an even national race. But Harris with what seems to be overstated strength in the battleground states. A bunch of them with terrible track records in the battleground states happen to be right and are finding this weird new trend where Trump is going to do better nationwide than he did in the battleground states, or they're just wrong. And the campaigns and the way they're acting is indicative of something else. All right, that's why I'm like a little bit more confident in our polling. Also, I'm old. See the gray? I'm old. I was around for 2016. Supposedly there's so many people who predicted Trump was going to win in 16. That's funny because it was all by myself. I was singing that shit every day, all by myself. All right. It was super lonely. Maybe a handful of other people. Had Mike over at Rasmussen back then. Then you had Robert coming on the scene. Haley, I'm talking about. And that's it, man. That's it. Everybody mocked the LA Times poll. It was freaking lonely. It was super stressful. And I remember something from back then. I remember the talk when the popular vote started to close. And the ABC Washington Post poll went from Clinton plus 12, 8 days later, to Clinton plus 1 or 2, right? Then they ended, I think, at like Clinton plus 3 or something, or 4. I'll go back and look for posterity. And then Maris, who was having Clinton plus 13s and 12s and 14s, at the last minute on 11-1, went to Clinton plus 2. I remember the AP NORC Clinton plus 13. And then all this happened, and you know what people were saying? But she's ahead in every state. So here's what's going to happen. It looks like Trump may win the popular vote, but lose the battleground states. Maybe you're not old enough to remember this. I am. I was there. I remember it like it was yesterday. Maybe your national poll isn't wrong. Maybe your state polls are wrong. Cue the hand gesture that Laura will not let me make on camera. That isn't a middle finger. All right. Here's the top 5 moments according to this dude on Twitter from Trump at Al Smith's dinner last night. At the Al Smith dinner last night.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods. But then I met Tim Walz. Well, I'd better wrap up because Mayor Adams told me earlier that I needed to make this one very quick, especially the city has reserved this room for a large group of illegal aliens coming in from Texas. There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Stop. Notice the women think it's funnier than the men. And let's just pause for a second because you heard the women go, oh, right? Why? Because that shit is true and they know it. That's a demographic group. We're going to put that in there. That's next. That's going in our crosstabs, folks. White dudes for Harris, and then wives of white dudes for Harris and their lovers. We're going to have 3 new drop downs real soon. Everyone knows it's a joke, but what always makes a joke funny? Actually, how can I put it? What makes the funniest jokes the funniest jokes? What makes them the best jokes? And the truth. That they're true. Notice the women are laughing more than the Chuck Schumer's like, oh man, don't make fun of me being a cuck. Right? As a matter of fact, that's why half of them support illegal immigration. They need to keep their wives around somehow. Oh no! All right, let's go with the next 2, and then we'll actually do something serious. We'll take a clip from our frequent show friend Harry Enton over at CNN because he's actually saying something that look. I mean, anytime somebody else sees what I've been trying to tell you, I have to play it because it's got that these are usually key things that really matter. All right, let's get back to being serious.
A major issue in this race is childcare, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away. That's a nasty one. Church.
It's a nasty one. No, like for those of you who don't know, Kamala Harris's husband nailed the nanny. He banged the nanny. Then he knocked her up and killed the baby. And that's something that once upon a time in the United States of America would have wholly disqualified you from being president or anywhere near the presidency of the United States. But hell, it's 2024. Welcome to the brave new world, baby.
Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? It looks glum.
Like a dog.
But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
Sorry. I'm not gonna lie. I was cracking up last night. I'm not gonna lie. That shit is funny and everybody knows it. All right. Another piece I do want to do that is more of a serious note because it obviously has to do with the election. I don't even know what to say. And then we'll take a break to pay the bills. But until then, let's laugh a little, shall we? This one is actually not no laughing matter. This is exactly what is happening. This is what we saw in Michigan. This is what we saw in Pennsylvania, both. And if it's happening in Michigan and Pennsylvania, it of course is happening nationally in the rest of the battleground states. That's why we call them battleground states, right? They're indicative of the rest of the country, right? Or they're indicative of the trend, the way the country's going. And this has been Kamala's problem. I have said this to you a million times. Kamala Harris was the most unpopular vice president in the modern era, and that includes people like Dick Cheney and Dan Quayle. All right. I'm picking 2 unpopular vice presidents from both sides to make my point and make it fairly. There was a brief period in our polling and in everybody's polling where they had their honeymoon phase when they first came into the White House. And of course, the talk was about January 6th and, oh my God, an insurrection, or in Chuck Schumer's words, an erection, right? Trump caused an erection, right? Okay. So maybe yours, Chuck. Anyway, that was the focus back then. And Kamala Harris's favorability rating rose, and it rose to a positive state, and then it quickly collapsed because she is who she is. All right. And there was one brief period where she looked like she was on her way to being positive too, and that was when she ran for the presidency and the Democratic nomination in 2020, until Kamala just took a nosedive because, again, reality, who she is, actually hit. And she was not at all popular. All right, this happened with Hillary Clinton. Everybody, the media came together. They forged this image of Hillary Clinton, the stateswoman, traveling all over the world. She clocked more hours and more miles than any other Secretary of State. She's been around the world, seeing everybody. Libya was supposed to be her crown jewel. Reality hit. Libya became a failed state. She's back to being one of the most hated women in politics. Nobody likes her, right? And that was reality. The media puffed Kamala Harris up when they pulled the switcheroo with Joe Biden. And they tried to hide it, and you can see it in the polling we just showed you from Pennsylvania. And they tried to hide the issues with the border that made people not like her. That is by far her biggest vulnerability, is the border. If this was a number one issue election that was immigration and border security, she would lose the popular vote by 5 points. Like, it would be disgusting. But they propped her back up, and now she's on this decline. And I've stated a couple of times now, my job and the job of other pollsters, sadly, thank you to a corrupt corporate media, has been relegated to measuring public opinion and gauging whether or not the public believes the bullshit long enough for their favored party to win an election. Kamala Harris was not well liked. You Democrats out there who are watching, that's just a reality. You can put your head in the sand all you want. I'm telling you the reality, not what you want to hear, but what I think you need to hear. All right. She was not popular. You swapped out a guy who at least had an affinity for the working class, and vice versa. They had it for him, or at least some of them, in certain areas of the country. You swapped him out for a woman who was hated by basically everybody, and they propped her up artificially for a little bit, and now her balloon is deflating. And the question is, can she hold enough hot air in that balloon long enough until the election comes? That's the great experiment here. Can we install a candidate the donors like, the donors think the country should like, can't understand why they don't like her, and create a lie and a myth that is durable enough to last long enough in a short period of time before the election? They don't care if you hate her come February again. They don't care. They'll do what they want. They'll take her and her 33% approval rating, and they will ram everything you dislike and everything you disapprove of down your throat. They don't give a shit. That's not the name of the game. And her decline has been so precipitous that it is taking her down in the polls, and it's starting to take down other Democrats with it. Here's Harry Enten talking about just that. Let's go back. There we go. Now you can go, Harry. Oh, all the while, Trump is the most popular he has ever been.
I think there are a lot of folks such as myself who think that Donald Trump's unpopularity is baked in. But here's the deal. If you believe that Donald Trump has somehow become less popular over time, let me change your mind about that. In fact, he is more popular at this point in the campaign than he was at this point in the 2020 campaign or the 2016 campaign. Look, he's still underwater, right, with a negative 9-point net favorability rating. But that is higher than he was in 2020 at minus 12 points when he nearly won. And it is way higher than the minus 27 net favorability back in 2016 when he did win. So I think there's this real question in Kamala Harris's mind, in the campaign's mind.
Well, let me explain that. And we'll forget about what's in their minds for a second. Here's what maybe is not in their minds that they overlooked, and so many people are overlooking. Hillary Clinton, look, everybody polled 2016 wrong except for a handful of people. One of them is speaking into the microphone right now. Hillary Clinton was more unpopular than Donald Trump in 2016. They were both unpopular with the overall electorate, but Donald Trump had less less of an intense dislike in battleground states. In Florida, in Iowa, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, they disliked him a lot less than the nation overall. In fact, if you go back and look at our polling from 2016, you will see that in several occasions in a state like Ohio, his negative number was only like -4. That's it. In Florida, it was even sometimes. Even. She was disliked more and in more places. The polls, they were wrong. If they were wrong about the election, they're wrong about favorability ratings. They're wrong about approval ratings. They're wrong about issue tests. They were wrong about the ballot test. That is the ultimate test of whether or not you can take at face value what a pollster says. They were wrong. But Hillary Clinton was also incredibly disliked. 2020, fast forward to 2020, Trump is more popular than he was before. But Joe Biden was popular. If he was negative, he was a lot less negative. But most of the time, even in the Epoch Times, big data poll that we conducted for the Epoch Times, he would range between slightly negative, slightly positive. But there was absolutely, even in the final poll, I think he was like 51-48. He was positive +3 when Trump was like negative +8, negative +10. And even here you can see his average -12. Whatever, close enough. In 2024, Trump is more popular than he has ever been, and Harris's favorability is crashing. We're not going to catch how fast it crashes. I'm telling you, unless, it's the 18th, maybe. But her problem over the last week has been this. Everything else we just talked about, issues, trust to handle those issues, and of course, the image rating and retrospective approval rating of both of these candidates, and people are already voting. And people are deciding. By the way, North Carolina's early vote did not look great for Democrats either. So we're going to pick isolated areas to point out where things are good for us. Fine. If you want to do that, fine. You can go listen to Tony Boner at Target Fart, who told you that Hillary Clinton was winning 20% of the Republican vote in 2016 in Florida, and that she was going to carry that state by 6. She was going to carry North Carolina by 6, and she got routed. Overall, you don't want to look at the early vote tea leaves, and you don't want to listen to the early vote grifters. However, Democrats are not election day voters. If they're already falling this behind, where are they going to make it up? When are they going to make it up? Pennsylvania's an effing disaster for them. Cut the shit. Georgia is record early voting, and Republicans are outpacing them. Arizona, more bad news. Florida, forget it. It's done. You're going to get the final big data poll for Florida this weekend, probably tomorrow. I just have so much I can't get it. I might as well just let it run and give you the freshest numbers. It's not changing anyway. Less than 2% are undecided in Florida. Less than 2%. And we have to already start including the question, have you already voted? The already voted numbers should be heavily Democratic. They're not. Where are they going to make up this ground? If she's already trailing Trump in Florida, where is she going to make up this ground? And if that's the case in Florida, why can you not reasonably suspect that that's the case in North Carolina and that's the case in Georgia? Another poll today, ECU, Trump at 50 in Georgia. I just don't see where and when they intend to make this up. Could it? I guess I'm always inclined, or I'm always obligated to tell you that they can, but this is going in the wrong direction for her. And why is that? She's going against a guy who has a unique ability to win the votes of people who dislike him. He is disliked by the least number of people ever since he came on the political scene. That leaves her a lot less room for error. she would have to be wildly unpopular to take those votes away from him. She's not. Cue Harry again. Taking a break for water. See you in a second.
Why is Trump more popular now than he was at this point in 2020 and 2016? And I think that is why you're seeing the sharpening attacks, because they want to put him back down to here, or even there's no way that they're necessarily going to back down to here, but they want to make Trump more unpopular than he is right now, because he's more popular now than either point in 2020 or 2016.
So this could be what they're seeing with regard to movement with Donald Trump, but could it have something also to do with what they're seeing with their candidate, with Kamala Harris or something?
Yeah, look, Kamala Harris is more popular than Donald Trump. But Kamala Harris had her popularity rising once, of course, she became the presumptive Democratic nominee. Look, she was at minus 15 points back on July 17th, then minus 4 points on August 17th, then 1 point on September, plus 1 point. She was actually in positive territory a month ago, but she has fallen back down to -1. The momentum of Kamala Harris has stalled. And I think they feel like they have to change something that's going on in their campaign, because they were seeing a rise and now it has stalled out. Look, she's still more popular than Trump. But look, Joe Biden was more popular than Trump, much more, and barely won. And Hillary Clinton was more popular than Donald Trump and lost. Being more popular than Trump isn't enough. She wants to continue to see her favorabilities rise, but in fact, they're going in the wrong direction at this point.
One of the lines of attack that we've seen her focusing in on.
Oh, it's the people's pundit. I can't shut up. I just can't. I'm just in one of these moods today. Oh, it's just the people's pundit saying that. It's just the people's pundit. That's Harry Enton from CNN. It's not the people's pundit. Come on. This is like undeniable.
On is questioning his fitness to serve, his ability to serve, and also questioning his health.
This is all old. The health thing may be new. They've tried it before. It would be new. Let me put it this way. It would be new if it worked. We've been down this road before. Look at the exit polls. Is Donald Trump mentally unfit to serve? No. Yet they elected him. You cannot do this. She needed to. It's too late. It's too late. It's October 18th. It's too effing late. I'm sorry. Like they're all over the map. He's had a message from the beginning. He's had a presidential justification from the beginning. She did not have a message or a presidential justification, and now they cannot even come to grips with what their damn closing statement is. Her justification is Joe Biden was retarded, and the big donors helped me usurp him, so now vote for me. That's her justification. Like, are you kidding me? If that ever did work in the United States of America, folks, then you should be terribly afraid. If that ever worked. I mean, you've got to be joking. Big donors decided that they're going to put their knee on Jake Tapper's neck, and Jake Tapper's going to help me push out Joe Biden. Well, Barack Obama, who I'm also going to knife in the back, puts the screw Chicago style to him. I didn't earn a single vote, but who gives a shit about that? Viva democracy! What's her message? I replaced a retard? That's not a message. People can't afford eggs. They can't afford bacon. They can't afford milk. They can't afford gas. There's 2 global conflicts that you started. How do you intend to end them? How are you different than Joe Biden? It's a simple question. Well, I'm younger. I'm certainly not Joe Biden. Look at me. Is that supposed to win? What are we doing here? Where's the serious discussion about this? They usurped the sitting president, who, like it or not, won renomination to his party. They then install this woman because that's what big donors have wanted since 2020, and they could not sell a new vision to the public. And now we're all supposed to nitpick the numbers and pretend like, all of that doesn't have a factor here, doesn't play a role. What happened to the basics? Media propaganda cannot have staying power forever. It doesn't. We've seen it time and time again. The Russia collusion hoax is now disbelieved by more people than it is believed. It once was very different. January 6th is no longer in the minds of the majority. It's seared into the minds of the mentally ill who really do view this to be a serious thing. There are basics here. How are you going to make my life better? Do you respect the sovereignty of the vote? They had the audacity to talk about January 6th when they literally usurped a sitting president and the legitimate nominee of the Democratic Party. I feel bad for Joe Biden, folks. Don't you? His wife and party and family used and abused him. And then they threw him away like a piece of shit, a rotting piece of meat when they no longer could use him, and installed the woman that he beat, that they didn't want. They didn't want him in 2020, folks. They wanted the donor class, and the political elite did not want Joe Biden. They wanted Kamala Harris. She fell flat on her face and could not withstand the attacks from Tulsi Gabbard, and her career was ended on that stage. They resurrect her, the most unpopular VP in history. They resurrect her into something that she is not. And we're all criticizing polls that have Trump ahead. This is a little bit ridiculous. This is a little bit laughable. I'm sorry. It is. And here's the terrifying thing. She'd have beaten Ron DeSantis. She'd beat Ted Cruz. Republicans still don't have their act together. They could still beat themselves. You guys know that. Republicans are very good at defeating themselves. But she would have cruised to victory in Michigan against one of these clowns. Forget about the polls a year out, 6 months out. How would Nikki Haley have done in Macomb County, where we just showed you? Maybe she'd have done better in Oakland. I'll see that. She's going to do better in Oakland County. And then guess what? She, like every other Republican, is going to lose Oakland. The way Mitt Romney lost it. The way Tudor Dixon lost it. Better get their heads out of their butts. Because if they win this election, that's it. It's done. He's gone. No more Trump to save you. No more Trumps around to save you. Not unless Don Jr. wants to run. Why the hell would he? No more Trumps to save you. No more Trumps to make sure all these normal people who think you hate them, because you do, because you think you will backstab them because you have. No more of those normies that are just going to knee-jerk pull the lever for you anyway because you have an R next to your name and they're voting for Donald Trump. The hell are they going to do? What are Republicans going to do? I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Okay, let's go back to it. I'm over here. Let's go. Very close. 30 seconds.
Do you see the numbers that would show that's a good line of attack?
I think it's a great line of attack because better mental, physical health to be president. You know, back when Joe Biden was presumptive Democratic nominee in July, look, 50% said that Trump had the better physical mental health. Biden was way down at 21%. You jump ahead to September. Kamala Harris way ahead on this metric at 54% to Donald Trump's 34%. I expect to see a lot more attacks on Trump's mental and physical health because the bottom line is voters believe it, and you're just telling voters what they know and bringing it to the forefront in their minds.
Yeah.
I don't think Harry should be a political strategist. Harry, continue reading the numbers, but you're giving her horrible advice. Horrible advice. She goes down this road. If that is her closing statement, she's going to lose this election. But you know what? Do you? Do you, browski? Do you? They've heard it all before. Hillary Clinton tried to use it. She was 35 points ahead of Donald Trump on that issue. And yet, you know what overtook it, Harry? Who had the lead on being a stronger leader? Who leads on that question right now? But do you, bro? Do you? There was a very, very, very simple line that she needed to use. I don't understand why she's not doing it. Because, like, privately, folks, every one of these campaigns, when they're on each other's same side, they're like she will sit down with Biden and their people sit down with them and they'll say, look, we're not going to be insulted. You do what you got to do to win this election. I think that the people who say that she doesn't have conviction to take a stand for something is the root cause of all of this. She doesn't want to make anybody unhappy. She wants to be a chameleon and she wants to be everything to everybody. And that smells like bullshit to the American public. They would rather you just be a Scott Walker. I may not agree with you on everything, but at least I know where you stand. At least I know where you're going to come down and you're going to be consistent, so I can respect that and I'll vote for that. Same thing with Donald Trump. They didn't agree with everything, but they knew where he stood. They knew what to expect from him. With her, she's just another chameleon politician who really did not rise to where she is by merit. We all know that. And they don't know what she's going to do. They don't know what she's going to do. And they certainly don't know how she's going to be different than Joe Biden. And that is the predominant question here. The Brett Baier interview, by the way, was an effing disaster. And look at how Democrats were like, oh, this was so good. That's how you do a Fox interview. They're in a bubble. They cannot get out of this bubble. They're incapable of it. And what worries me is if and when, the likely word, they lose this election, who's going to be the straw man this time? Who is going to be the Democratic straw man? Last time it was Vladimir Putin, and there's some elaborate bullshit story about stealing the election in a way that isn't even possible to steal an election. The Washington Post was literally writing stories about how Putin hacked the power grid and took over votes. Like, folks, he's not the lawnmower man. It's ludicrous. You think Rudy Giuliani had some good ones? Come on. That sends the votes went overseas to Guam or wherever the hell he said. That puts that to shame. Who's going to be the scapegoat this time? Because they're incapable of looking in the mirror and saying. Now, I know there are more and more Democratic voices that are trying to gain, the party's ear, the collective party's ear to say, look, if we lose this thing, we can't spend the next 3 to 6 months making up some story about why we lost. We have got to come to grips with the fact that we are not tending to the needs of a huge chunk of voters in this country to the point that we're so derelict that they're willing to go with a guy like Donald Trump. I mean, I don't understand. If you can't stand the guy, if you can't fathom it, you don't know, oh my God, how could he represent our politics? He's not, he's not presidential. I don't know what that means anyway. Does presidential mean one day calling for someone to be killed for war crimes and the next day being like fans with them? Like, is it all just bullshit? Is it all just BS? Barack Obama won on the shouts and screams of George Bush being a war criminal. And now they're broskies. George Bush won on saying Bill Clinton was unfit for office and was getting BJs in the Oval. And that's conduct unbecoming, and that's it. Now they're broskies. This is all just a lie. It's just absurd. And we're all supposed to care more about the palace intrigue than our own lives. They're going to have a conversation with there's something going on with the lived experience of the majority of the public, and we're not able to gaslight. It's so strong that we're not able to gaslight them, even with the power, the mighty power of corporate press. Who owns, by the way, basically every local paper and station across the country. And by the way, Brian Stelter, while I'm at it. The FCC doesn't have the power to strip CBS News or any other outlet of their license. Doesn't work that way anymore. The authority is over broadcasting stations anyway. And there's a board. So the chair couldn't just do it if they wanted to. What are you talking about? You're making this is what I mean. You're making a fictional argument in a world that doesn't exist, about a world that doesn't even exist. And then wondering, and then labeling people Hitler because to help you understand your failures. It's 1:38. Let's take a break. All right. We got to pay the bills here. Look, it's an unstable world. The election's coming. We don't know for certainty exactly what's going to happen. Markets are unpredictable. So is the global political and economic order. So it's no wonder why you might be thinking about, a whole bunch of people are thinking about where to protect their wealth. All right. And if you ever thought about diversifying your portfolio or interested in purchasing silver or gold, then definitely Freedom Gold is the place that I want you to go, because they really are all about helping you understand and make confident decisions, not the hard sell. It's not a boiler room. Minimum commitments are usually $50K, $20K, $10K. Even at Freedom Gold, it's $5 for getting in. Minimum, entry, fee, whatever you want to call it. But not for you guys. They've lowered it all the way to just $500, and yet you'll still get free shipping and insurance on all orders. The best thing about it is you'll be thrown into a prize pool, and we haven't had a chance. We got to bring them on and tell you who won this month. But it's election time, and we have to be careful with our time here. But we will announce who it is. Every month, somebody wins free gold or silver. And of course, you will get a $500 credit still for that gold or silver IRA that you open. All right. So look, there's a whole lot of other deals that you could qualify for. Go to freedomgoldusa.com/rich, freedomgoldusa.com/rich, or call the number on the screen, which is our number, but it's always good if you say that People's Pundit sent you, 888-279-3592, 888-279-3592. Again, no hard sell. All right. Where are we going to go here at 140? Let's, was a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk to you about here. Republicans actually may have the lead on the generic ballot in Pennsylvania. Let's see. We have the data append going. Do they have the lead as of now? I can't add it to that crosstab. I'll have to build another one because it's new responses. But let me see. They were down. By the time we wrapped up the CDM poll, they were down, but God, it was getting close. Let's see where we're at now. Bear with me, then we'll get into some questions. So 0.5 point. That's very close. What about when we lean these folks? When leaned, let's get likely voters too, please. Oh, man, that's close. When leaned. Ooh, big chunks still go to, looks like, throwing their vote away. I'm not going to vote or a third party, but Republicans are taking the leaners by a few points. So that probably is good. Yep, it does. Ties it up at 46 with still, what are they waiting for? We have to push these people harder. It's October 18th. I haven't seen 6% undecided like this since 2016. I haven't. Then they all broke for the end, and a lot of them said they were going to vote third party, and in truth, they just didn't. They didn't vote at all. And that's why I'm thinking, again, this is problematic for Kamala and Democrats in general, because last time we saw this, they just kind of threw away. They really did just throw away their thing. So Decision Desk is no longer Harris 58, Trump 42. Their latest just came out about 2 hours ago when we started this. It's their October 18th update. Trump 269, Harris 269. Again, I'm calling cop out on everybody. I'm calling cop out on everyone. I mean, I'll retweet it. I'll go ahead and retweet it, folks. I'm calling cop out. I'm calling bullshit. I just am. What could change? What could change? By the way, Trump did not say he was exhausted. You're going to see a lot of this. They're going to stop with the Trump is tired. Is that your closing argument? Trump is tired? Are you kidding me? The guy's an animal. He just like went on a show at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Would it would? I mean, maybe it'll work with some people, but, oh my God, what poll is this? On message, Trump +1. The way the momentum is moving now, it is absolutely possible that he could win the popular vote. It really is. And it's difficult to see if that's the case. If he wins the popular vote, he's got a greater than 95% chance of winning the Electoral College. Like, so this idea that, oh, he could win the popular vote, but he won't win the Electoral College. Folks, if he wins the popular vote, like Fox and now on message, I know JPL is probably coming out at Trump +1 too. But I think we'll be like even. I really do think our final will be even, but our final will not be for 2 weeks. So because I'm not going to win. I'm not going to cop out. That, man. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You don't cop out. Well, you know, my last poll really was October 11th, so it could have changed back then. And break. Speaking of which, oh my God, I see my phone is ringing right now. I totally forgot about something, and I've got to show you this. You guys think this shit's funny or something? The hell with these people, bro. I just read you, bro. I just read your text. I'm killing you. The hell with these people. They're so full of shit, man. They know it. Come on. Get over it. It's just totally a cop-out. It's totally a cop-out. They don't want to admit it. That's a dot movie format. Okay, bear with me, folks. I have 15 minutes. I really, really, really want to show you something. It's important. Trust me, it's important. Hold on. Let me title it for you. Okay, hold on, guys. Bear with me. You're going to love this. Call me anything. Tell you what. Ooh, there's a name at the top of that. Is there any way for me to cut that out so people can't see that? Let's see. Hold on. Somebody, because it's a video. Yeah, I don't want to show people all of that because I don't want to show people somebody's name or personal information. All right. But I could. No, there it is right there. Damn. Okay, let me scoot it down, cut off that name. That should be able to do it. That should do it. If it doesn't, I'll pop it off the screen real quick. For people who think high quality polls, right? Every year I catch some pollster doing something really stupid. My advice was actually not to say anything. Don't say anything until the poll comes out, because I have caught people doing stuff and then they try to adjust and fix it so that their poll is still credible. Hold on. So I wait. And I wait until somebody releases it. And then I go, is this your poll? We all make mistakes. And sometimes we like, remember when Ann Seltzer spiked her poll in 2020 because one of the interviewers may or may not, they don't know for sure, have missed Pete Buttigieg's name on the questionnaire. And so they just spiked the entire poll instead of doing with Patrick Murray from Monmouth and I and many other pollsters from the perceived left and right. You simply get rid of that interviewer for that day. Their responses go out the window, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with the responses from everybody else. And you field until you make up for the 50 or so interviews. And it's not even going to be 50, by the way. One interviewer is going to hand you 10 interviews. You make it up and you move on. All right. Here is been brought to my attention a clip in Arizona. I mean, a clip that is going to show you a poll that's being run in Arizona. It is being supplemented. Their survey tool, it's being supplemented by text to online. It's being texted to people to take. It is, as I understand it, a very well-known news and media organization. And they are supplementing the sample with phone sample with another phone mode, text online, and using SurveyMonkey as the tool to collect the responses online. Nothing wrong with any of that. All right. Here's what's wrong with it. And actually, I got to do it here so I can pause it for you. Hold on. What is it? The name of the clip? Okay. Yeah, because if I do it like that, I won't be able to pause it to show them exactly what the problem is. It may be hard for you to see. Here we go. All right. So very clearly, this is a poll, the presidential race. And you can see below there's actual Senate race as well. Let's stop here. Do you see anything wrong with the poll for U.S. Senate in Arizona? Does anybody, locals, Bueller, can somebody please let me know, Bueller, what is wrong with this survey? Right. We're trying to confirm it. I'm just going to blast it out. This appears to be Reuters. All right. I'm trying to absolutely confirm it at the end. They're not correctly abiding by the standards of disclosure with APOR. And because I no longer use SurveyMonkey, I myself would be able to get in and just simply be able to verify that it is in fact Reuters, but it does look like they are using SurveyMonkey. All right. So I don't want to blast anybody unless I absolutely positively know for sure. But it does look like now a couple of people have told me that it is in fact Reuters. All right. Obviously, many of you in locals and YouTube saw it immediately. Where the hell is Kari Lake? Maybe Kari Lake is running 16 points behind in the Reuters poll because they don't have Kari Lake on the ballot. Here is another problem with the poll. When the poll is conducted, which I had multiple people do, at the end, it isn't sponsored correctly. It isn't shown where it's sponsored correctly. And then also, unfortunately, there is no way to prevent people from sending it to their friends. So I can see from the trailing URLs that there could be UIDs, RIDs, different variables that we all use, okay? And it's attached to the URL. And based on that URL, I can tell whether or not these people are using different parameters in their URLs to basically block. Even if you took the survey, all right, this is why I tell you guys, when someone changes their methodology, it is risky to believe them if they haven't demonstrated that they know what they're doing with this methodology. Why? Unless you know how to online poll correctly. All right. And this is why people like myself, Robert Cahaley, others who have been doing this when people were still calling it not, experimental and fake, and right now they're all doing it as if they never criticized us for using online and text to online, right, and peer-to-peer. They're all just pretending like that's been a credible mode all along, and people like me haven't been slandered for years for trying to do it and trying to pioneer new data collection modes in an age of uncertainty and polling shitness. All right. They are not using a block by either IP or cookie. Why? because each URL should have their own unique ID, and it passes the unique ID from that panel respondent to the pollster and tells the pollster that this is one, somebody they were looking for. It's credible. And two, is part of the overall, I mean, some could be opt-in, but the overall design of the survey. If you then take the URL and then send it to your friends, you are tainting the survey because it is no longer random. It's no longer balanced if it's opt-in, and you're going to send it to all of whom? People that, of course, agree with you in your own social circles, and you will begin to get people who just make up bullshit. I'm a Republican. I got a graduate degree. I voted for Trump twice. I'm not voting for him this time. They start playing with the survey, and the integrity of the survey is compromised. There is no block on this URL. So there are two very, very, very problematic issues with this poll. One is Kari Lake was excluded for at least an entire day of fielding. Kari Lake was excluded from the poll. Number two, you cannot allow people who receive the invitation to take the poll to be able to send it to their friends or even say, hey, honey, take this survey. Like if Laura and I were sitting at home and I say, oh, I got a poll. Hey, honey, let me send you the link. Take this survey. You also pick, candidate A. That compromises the integrity of the poll. It should block them by cookie, by IP, whatever it can. And it should know that it was me who was invited or it was me who was reached. In our case, we're going to the voter file. We're pulling a randomized list off the voter file, and then we're sending people invites to take the survey based on that randomized pull off of the database, right? So it's still randomized. But if I get it and it's sent to me and I give it to Laura or my mother-in-law or my dad or something, that is no longer the intended design of the survey. So I'm ensure that doesn't happen. People like Robert, he does the same thing. When you, who I sent the survey to, take that survey, it then passes back an ID that's unique to you. If you come back without an ID, you are scrubbed from the survey. In fact, and when I click on complete in Alchemer, when I show you in the back end, when I click on complete, actually already went through what are, they're basically data, here, let me show you because there's multiple ways to do it. They're basically scrubbed. The responses are scrubbed to make sure that they have not failed any checks. All right, which is one of them is a duplication check. Another one is a forward. It's called a forward. What I'm describing is called a survey forward. You do not want people to forward your survey to other people. Again, it will compromise the integrity of the survey. So it goes through all of this stuff. All right. And it looks like we got our Biden voters in. We got another 80-something responses from our targeted Biden voters in Pennsylvania. I'm intentionally doing this. And then you do what's called quarantining the bad responses. After those responses are quarantined, which means they're garbage, folks. It's garbage. All right. They are no longer considered completes. So when I go into my report, and as a million times you see me do, I check on my completes. That has already been through the basically data cleaning operations, which then quarantine bad responses and throw them in the trash. So you nor I ever see that. This survey, there is no way to ensure that the data is clean. There's no way to ensure the quality of the data, which is essentially what we're all trying to do. If you go to Clarity Campaigns, read their methodology, you will see they're very stringent. They do what's called attention checks or focus checks. We do the same thing. Why? Well, once somebody's in it, if they hit save and continue, it starts all over again. I don't want to get in the weeds, but you do not want some person who didn't focus at all and just ran through the survey. You know how long it takes for a human being to read a survey, folks. If they're just clicking A, B, C, D, bam, 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 and busting through the survey, it's garbage, trash. It's like no human can possibly read that quick. And on the flip side of that, if that survey's been sitting open for 9 hours on their computer and they're displaying a response pattern that's fishy, it's going to fail the test and it'll go into the quarantine. If it does not return with a UID, which matches obviously what I expected to match. But if it does not return with a UID, it automatically goes in the trash because it tells me that somebody forwarded that survey. And I don't want their friend's response. I don't want their sister's response. I don't want their mother-in-law's response. It isn't random. They're now sharing within social circles that they know agree with them. And that's garbage and has to be excluded. I mean, I'm even getting into the weeds on all this, but the bottom line is, folks, Kari Lake's not on this poll. This poll is trash. This poll is garbage. They might as well throw it in the trash. New poll out, actually, Pat, from Texas that shows Cruz and Trump ahead. Cruz is up by 5. Trump is up by like 11 or something. Yeah, we have a couple of minutes. Let's go through a couple of. I'm going to keep this up on the screen just so you know. Just so you know, October surprises. I know they're right. Apparently, October surprise, bitches. You got Grace Chong tweeting 17 minutes ago. She's from War Room, obviously. I'm actually waiting for Trump's emails to drop. The Iranians hacked Trump's emails. I got to be honest, journalists have shocked me. Politico has them. The Washington Post has. Everybody has them. They have not released them yet. There's probably 2 reasons for that. One is they don't want to be, it could backfire and they know it. 2, because Trump never emails himself. So there's only second and third party hearsay in those emails. All right. And there is some embarrassing shit in there, but there's nothing like, I don't know. I haven't read it all, but there is some embarrassing shit in there that they could try to drop on him, and we'll see how it goes. It looks like the right as their own. All right. Trump has a very packed schedule for the next couple of days. Harris looks extremely light. It's like she is not focusing on where she needs to. They were not even in the Rust Belt this past like 10 days. She was in North Carolina, her and Waltz. But Trump tonight, Detroit, a rally, 7 p.m. Smart. I don't know how many times I've said, go to Detroit for the crying out. For the love of God, if you're a Republican, go to Detroit. Go to the urban centers. Put together the urban rural coalition and just squash them like a bug. Because that is what you could do. And you will annihilate them as an effective party. All right? Yeah, they want to be the party of the metro burbs where everybody lives behind gated communities. Let them be. You be the party of the working class in and out of urban areas, in and out of rural areas. It's not even close. All right, but anyway, Detroit tonight at 7. Latrobe, PA tomorrow at 6. Lancaster, PA. That's a town hall. Sunday, 5 p.m. Greenville, North Carolina. It's becoming a huge thing here. Everyone's geared up. Josh Stein is actually trying to take advantage of it. He's going to try to be meeting with voters across the street, basically down the road a little bit. I kid you not. He's trying to take advantage of Trump voters because he knows Robinson is like in deep trouble. He wants to humiliate the man. So he figures, let me try to appeal to Trump voters who are kind of going in and out of this event. It's smart. He's smart. He's a dangerous man, Josh Stein. Dangerous man. You heard it here first. If you're a Republican, don't say I didn't warn you. Concord, North Carolina, that Monday, he's going to Greenville at 3. He'll be in Concord at 6:30. Then he heads to Miami, which he's currently ahead in by a few points in our poll. Tuesday at 11 a.m., he'll be doing a roundtable. Duluth, Georgia, he's doing a TPUSA rally, Turning Point rally, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Then he heads to Vegas, where again, the culinary unions say he's going to win that state. You do not discount what the culinary unions say. So not only is he going to that state, but he's not going to Elk. All right. He's not doing his usual rounds. He's going to Vegas, the heart of Vegas. He's doing that as well with TPUSA Thursday, 7 p.m. New York rally Sunday, October 27th. This man plans to end his rally, his campaign in blue areas. There's a moment of silence for a reason. This man is ending his campaign, the precious time he has left, going to areas where he thinks he can help down-ballot Republicans in urban areas. Look, I don't know how many elections we've been through together. And I tell you that you absolutely have to. You absolutely have to watch what they're doing, not listening to what they're saying. Is that the North Carolina absentee ballot data? That's early though, right? How this is from what? No effing way. 1, 2, 3, 4 counties. That's it? Oh my God. That's orange only. Oh my God. So, okay. So just focus on what I'm looking at here. Aristotle update. Looks like Republicans are outperforming. I mean, because I care about 22 only in the sense that they did very well in North Carolina in 22. Republicans' early vote is comparing how much better Republicans are doing in the vote by mail in county by county in North Carolina over their margins in 22. And it looks like in 1, 2, 3, 4 counties, out of 3 out of the 4 Democratic edge counties, Republicans are still doing better than they were. But it's not. No. Democrats are doing better than they were in 22. But everywhere else, including outside of Mecklenburg, not Mecklenburg itself, but outside of Mecklenburg, I mean, that's disgusting. When do they intend to when do they intend to vote? This is what I'm talking about. Like, when do they intend to vote? I don't understand. Like, when does anyone expect them to jump up and start doing this? Signals. It is what it is. Yeah. So what? They have Trump up in North Carolina. Big deal. In fact, anyone has Trump up in North Carolina is a big deal because go and look at what's it called? Go and look at the 2016 and 2020 numbers in North Carolina, folks. I mean, it's not a state Trump was ever expected to win. So this actually Texas looks like the University of Texas poll project came out. Trump +5 in Texas, Trump Cruz +7. So that's one poll where they actually have Cruz doing better than Trump, which is weird. What else do we got here? Let's add to some of these questions. I just wanted to share that with you. I also wanted to share this with you. I mean, this is a major mistake. Keep your eye out for it. The NBC News poll that you're referring to here, that is the full ballot. I imagine you're talking about the one they released last weekend, right? And the head-to-head was like was even at 48, but in the full ballot it was actually Trump +1. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Bungus is right. I mean, again, I always caution people to read the against reading early vote tea leaves. The problem is it does show Democratic enthusiasm, if nothing else. It does. I mean, or at least it can. It can. It doesn't always, but it can. And I just don't see when they plan to pick this up. Like, of course, they're going to vote much higher, but I know what's coming out in Pennsylvania at the end of the day today. It's once again not good for Democrats. I already know. You guys got to stop with these non-citizens on the voter rolls. You got to stop. You're wasting your time and your energy. The amount of people that you're talking about is nowhere near the amount of people that are low propensity voters that if they get out to vote, they're going to vote for Trump. So the right has a problem with wanting to defeat themselves. And you cannot listen to these people who argue about, 5,000 people who may or may not be allowed on the voter rolls. They'll come. Yeah, they always have a final. Detroit ballot return percentage is very high. It is. And this is why I caution you to read the early vote, because it is a lot more than other counties so far. That is true. But it's also, to me, not that expected. It's Washtenaw, which is also still down. So, I mean, Trump's numbers in Detroit, I suspect they're going to be a lot more than the 30% that he usually gets. All right. Again, when we were polling Michigan in 2020, Trump was at 27%. Now he's running about 12 points stronger than that. So I'm not saying he is going to get 40, but if he was to get 35 and turnout in Detroit was high, or in Wayne County overall was high, because that's what actually Detroit is a simplification. The county itself has a 40% ballot return right now. It could be that they just are banking votes, but there's also stuff going on there that I know about, and it's not all Republicans. So remember, they don't have party registration over there. So it's, don't listen to, Target Farts inference model. And in fact, a lot of the people, I'm just telling you from experience that I know, a lot of people who are inferred Democrat in southeastern Michigan that are being targeted as first-time voters, getting them on the permanent absentee ballot list, getting them, their ballot in their hands and returned. They are actually inferred as Democrats, but they're not voting Democrat. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be a huge number of people. I'm just telling you that Macomb County is still inferred model on Target Farts model and it's honestly, it is in ours as well. If you do the inference in Macomb County on mine, it's going to infer that Macomb County is still majority Democratic, yet it's still voting, obviously going to vote for Donald Trump. The only question is by how much, right? Let me go to Michigan. I actually want to run that right now. It's 2:09. You guys doing anything? You got time, right? I don't think I have anything coming up right this second anyway. Let's go to jurisdiction. Let's pull this down. Let me get rid of this thing. Where is it? Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's stop the vote screen machines here. Let's go to, okay. Let's go, so you can see what it is I'm doing. Let's go to jurisdiction. I mean, it might in the era of Trump. It's been a bit since I've done it. And locals, you know that. We haven't done this in a while. All right. Let's do Macomb. Let's run it. I should have did only active voters, but whatever. Let's see if there's a big difference between the two. All right. Man. Boom. All right. So we're looking at about 672,000 unique individuals. Good. Not a bad sample size. Let's run the target. Let's also do preferred ideology. There we go. Okay. So party, gender, household income, inferred ethnicity. Okay. Generate the report. There's so much going on this time of year. It may take a bit. All right, there we go. There you go. Inferred Democrat, 35. Inferred Republican, 22.5. And then unknown, which, 42.5. So as you can see, Macomb County is still inferred quite a bit more Democratic. And that is because of the long voting history of Democrats. What goes into inference modeling? Party primary participation, donations, and a slew of behavioral attributes. I mean, look at how many attributes there are, folks. If I just click on this, I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is why I don't use them. This is why I never have for many, many years. We've always partnered with the people we have, and this is nothing. This is just the top. You can go into custom searching and you can query through a whole bunch of stuff. That's just this absurd amount of data attributes. It's actually really scary. And the AI that we've been using, and it's going to be firing from now until election day, of course. I was talking to Sean Parnell about it this morning. It's freaking terrifying. You would not know the difference between me and the AI if I texted you right now. And then if you replied something that is like a very known question, it's already going to know how I would answer you based on the profile of my answers in the database. All right. Same goes for Mitch. Same goes for Matt. Same goes for Laura. Same goes for everybody who's an agent, works at Big Data Poll, does what we do. So it's terrifying. I always say, folks, sometimes I will write colloquially. Now, still, I will do it accurately and grammatically correct. you know, if I'm very big on punctuation and everything, it mimics that. I don't know how else to put it. It's really scary. Yeah. So there you have it. Let's see too. Let's see about absentee, by the way. Absentee ballot requested. Okay. Run the report because this will make you think it looks terrible. And this is why I tell you be very careful with Target Smart because their inference modeling sucks. And it's not, some of it's not only there, and some of it's not their fault. See the party split? All right. Now let's go to absentee ballot requested. Oh, I'd have to model them out. So like basically, they're almost all of these people that we picked are on the absentee ballot list. I mean, that's of course not the case. But by the way, look at ideology. It's modeled as very liberal. Trump won Macomb County overwhelmingly against Hillary Clinton. He won it overwhelmingly against Joe Biden. I mean, the margin was bigger against Hillary Clinton, but still. All right, let's go. I was reading an article today where Kamala is now lashing out by showing everyone how she was a mean girl. This will collapse her chances to win. Yeah, I mean, she is a mean girl. Kamala Harris is a mean girl. She is. Yeah. Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, Pat Tillman. Yep. That's a good point. That's cool. Appreciate that comment. If the end result is the early voting going strong Trumpy, do you think we'll see the Democratic Party sour on early voting like they have on the Electoral College? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, the Democratic Party used to be against absentee ballot voting. They said it was ripe with fraud. It was I could show you Harry Reid making comments like that. I could show you Chuck Schumer making comments like that. I could show you, what's his name? He used to be really fat, but then he had the taxpayers pay for his gastro bypass surgery. The hell was his name? Come on, locals. New York congressman. I mean, I can go on and on and on. They used to say, and the Democratic Party in Florida used to hate absentee ballot voting. They said it was constantly ripe with fraud. That's why when we did election reforms after the hanging Chad incident, they wanted to include a lot of things about absentee ballot voting, and that was fine. And now we have, like, again, deadlines for absentee ballots. They must be tallied. We must know how much we have. They must be reported. Supervisor of election must report it to the Secretary of State's office by 7:30 Eastern Standard Time if they're in the Eastern Time zone. Panama, the Panhandle is a little bit different. Panama City, a little bit different. How do you feel about the Democratic mail-in firewall being less than 300K in Pennsylvania? Dems seem to think it's her race to lose now. I don't know any Democrat who thinks that. Anyone who's saying that publicly, that's a show for you. They don't think it's hers to lose. The firewall was technically slightly bigger in 2020. If Barnes is right about the popular vote, your punishment is to do a shot of Fireball whiskey on stream and to tweet something nice about Nate Silver. Oh, shit. Oh, no. All right, cynic. What constitutes right? Like right on the money? Or if Trump just wins the popular vote by like more than 2? Because I'm not prepared to make that. I could see Trump winning the popular vote by like 2 to 2.8. I don't think he'd hit 3, but I can see him winning the popular vote on the level that we saw in 2022 for Republicans. Maybe a little bit less. But if Barnes is right, and let's see. Let's text Barnes right now. He may get right back to me, may not. What's your latest popular vote projection? Because I know he is shifting, as everybody should. Although, notice neither Barnes and I have projections that shift wildly or gyrate all over the place. What is the percentage of the chance that Trump wins the national popular vote? I really think that at this point, given everything, given the history and given what I'm seeing with our polling being dead tied, I think you got to give it 50, 55%, like 50 to 55% that either one of them wins the popular vote, just based on history and, based on the voting trends. I mean, I have always been against the idea Republicans would win the popular vote, largely because of the shift in white educated voters and Hispanics being so democratic in recent presidential cycles. And neither one of them are really the case anymore. Now, white voters that are educated may continue to just keep shifting Democratic. But if Trump really does pull in the 40s of Hispanics, because I think she's going to do worse with working class whites than Biden did. So that will be offset. So I think you got to put this in the ballpark of, 53 to 55% chance. I mean, I really do think it's much more likely that we're going to understate Trump's vote than it is that we're missing some hidden Harris vote. I mean, if any pollster argues that, I just can't take them seriously. It means maybe they don't monitor their own interviews. Maybe they don't. But I'm telling you, like the Harris voter on two-way who turned off everybody being a know-it-all. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but that's what the other particular swing voter said. Like, they're not you're not going to miss them trying to tell you what they think. And I really think that's much less likely. And then also, I mean, I could show you how the hang-ups and the incompleted interviews, they're still more Trumpy. It's much more likely a Trump voter does not complete an interview than a Biden voter or a Harris voter, a Democratic voter in general. So, I mean, we're not including them like the New York Times unless we absolutely know everything about them. We're not doing what the New York Times does. It's only a handful of people that will still be able to include. The rest do get tossed aside. So, I want to know though, Cynic, I'm down with you on this. As long as we can come to an agreement, it's a shot of Fireball whiskey on stream and a tweet something nice about Nate Silver. Deal. All right? Deal. But it's got to be like right. Like Barnes is right. So if he says Trump's going to win the popular vote by 3.5, Trump's got to win the popular vote by 3.5. I'll take a shot even if Trump wins the popular vote. All right? But in order to tweet something nice about Nate Silver, that slimeball piece of shit, fraud, Barnes better be very right. But I'll do it. Deal. Salt is bad for the body, but good for the soul. Amen to that. Listen, I talked about this. Miss Texas is a really good question. Please talk about Mark Robinson. I was willing to entertain the idea that Mark Robinson would grossly overperform his polling before the scandal hit. Not necessarily just the scandal, but how he dealt with the scandal. He should have just had, if he could not have produced evidence that none of this was him, as he initially claimed, this isn't me, this is, if he could not do that, then he needed to have a mea culpa moment. Americans will forgive a lot, but ducking and hiding from the scandal the way he has is the absolute worst way to handle a scandal of this nature. You simply just own up to it. Yes, I'm a disgusting pig when it comes to sex. I like sex. I like sex a lot. Sometimes I like sex with women who aren't my wife. I mean, whatever. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to judge you like that. Look at Trump, the Billy Bush tape. Trump went to the microphone and said, I never lied to you about who I am. I never told you I'm something I'm not. I can fix this country. Who gives a damn about my sex life? If Mark Robinson would have done that, he might have been all right. But he's going to get creamed as it stands now. I mean, I still think he could outperform his polls. But remember, Forrester was down like 14 points. He was getting killed. And then Roy Cooper won by like a little over 4. Cal Cunningham was over Tom Tillis by 11. 11. And Tillis won by 2. So, I mean, the polls tightened at the end, though, even though they still didn't give Tillis an edge. But he handled it the absolute wrong way, Miss Texas, and it's a real shame. That being said, Republicans better have a conversation with themselves. because this talk about Trump's going, it appears that Trump will do the best. He'll put up the best performance for a Republican presidential candidate among non-whites since Richard Milhouse Nixon in 1960. If he does that, then Republicans are going to have an honest conversation with themselves about the remnants of the people, or the remnants of the kind of people in this party, especially in the country club South, that are uncomfortable with men like Mark Robinson, men who are not, they don't look like them, they don't speak like them, they're not in the same neighborhoods as them, and they're not controllable. And if Republicans really want to expand their tent and really want MAGA to be the vision forward, which attracts other people, then they have to air this dirty laundry out. Because I know it's true. Everybody in my business knows it's true. They murked Mark Robinson, not Josh Stein. They gave that shit to their political opponent, to his political opponents. They had it since the primary. They're uncomfortable with a black man that they don't know and can't control running their state. And that's disgusting. It's sad. Of course we pay attention to geographic area by county. Look, there is no, you guys, a lot of you are repeating target fart talking points about the early vote. And again, I'm not gonna answer every question about early vote. Avoid reading the early vote tea leaves. And there is no doubt, it is not even debatable that Dems are not enjoying the advantage they enjoyed over Republicans in 2020. That is just a reality. I know, Mark, this is just crazy. And by the way, well-known media guy, poll guy, texted me immediately, someone everyone knows very well, and was like, this is the biggest load of bullshit. And part of me said, look, those two pollsters, one of them went on Fox News and trashed me several years ago for trying to develop different modes, including text to online modes. And now he's using them as if A, he didn't say that, and B, he didn't say it, believe it, and B, as if we are all supposed to just assume that he knows what he's doing with these different modes. They're not all the same. You have to have experience in them. This isn't the live caller world. It's very different. That's why, by the way, folks, that's why they had, even when Biden was still in the race, Biden leading by 2 when the RCP average was like Trump plus 3 or something, or under 3, but close. They had Biden up by 2, and they had Biden and Trump tied in urban America and Biden up by a few points in rural America. This is why they don't know what they're doing. They don't. I think you're going to see some of them lean in where they can. But if we know what's outstanding with some of these absentee ballots, and we do, and let's say Trump comes in the 30s statewide, not in isolated areas, but statewide in like Pennsylvania, they're going to lean into that call. They are, because we'll know what's outstanding. And if it's not enough for her, then they will. Yep. That's part of one of the reasons why I'm saying that it is not only possible, but likely. But remember, Biden won it by 4, a little over 4, when he won New York by 10 points more than she's running right now. So that alone wouldn't be it. My girl, you got my girl? You got my girl?
Is this a
No, it's a whole show. Yeah, I'm answering questions. I really missed you, honey. I don't know why. I really missed you. I feel like we need to spend more time together.
Try this. This is delicious.
I miss you. Can I have one?
You can have it.
I can have this?
Yes, baby.
Where'd you get this?
Crayons?
And you had one?
Yes.
So you got this for me?
Yes.
This tastes delicious. Peanut butter?
It's caramel, but yes, it's made to taste like caramel and peanut butter.
And it's just a protein shake.
Yeah, it's a protein shake with caffeine
Mmm.
in it.
Let me do a Trump. Mmm. Right? Mm. Oh my God, that's so good. Stop it. Stop it. Virginia, it's a heavy lift for Democrats. I mean, for Republicans. But man, it doesn't look great for them, does it? I mean, for Democrats. I just think that look at during the gubernatorial election, they were able to get a lot of voters to the polls. In fact, they get last minute surges in Virginia. I mean, so I'm not concerned about North Carolina. I just think Virginia is very heavy. It's not impossible, but it's a very heavy lift for Republicans. I'm not concerned about North Carolina rural voting areas. I just spoke to somebody actually last night after they opened up. And there are only 4 sites that won't be open for early voting. And I spoke to an official in one of them that was badly impacted by the storm, and they were rocking and rolling. People, and I quote, he would swim through a swamp to vote for this man. So I am not at all concerned. And by the way, I mean, the tallies at the end of the day, which we just got earlier that I was commenting on, that's actually what they handed me. It looks good for Republicans. It looks really good. So I'm not at all. And I never was, because of all the years that I spent in Florida. I've heard this all before. I've seen hurricanes just smash into the Panhandle and Bay County. And, Republicans go out and vote. They'll like paddle boat to the polls if they got to. Like, I'm not kidding. People who want to vote are going to vote. And that's it. Unless of course you don't let them vote, like Maricopa County, but anyway, that's another story.
So
Easy fix to have one-time use surveys. Just have a UUID in the text survey URL. Exactly. And the fact they didn't have that, Cynic, tells you that's how shitty the polls are conducted. And, you have people like Nate and others have the audacity to call us, me, others low quality surveys. Their so-called high quality surveys can't even use a UID. And it's being forwarded to everybody. Have I showed you this, honey? Here's Arizona, which we think we're like 90% sure we know who it is. And it's a big media outlet using SurveyMonkey to use text online to people. You notice anything about Kerry Lake's race? Ruben Gallego, Democratic Party. Ruben Gallego, Democratic Party. Eduardo Quintana, Green Party. Not sure.
wow. So I guess it's either Ruben or Ruben.
It's Ruben or Ruben, baby. This is an easy way to get Ruben ahead.
Maybe that Ruben identifies as Carrie Lake.
Maybe that's Kerry identifying as Ruben. Come on, dude. What a load of shit. And Cynic, the truth is, most all of these softwares that are worth anything easily stop forwarding and easily will append a URL that gives you and returns you a unique ID for that person. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Appears on the ground as a bloodbath, even in some blue areas. I'm not saying Jackson or Montgomery will flip, but there are so many Trump signs, flags. It's crazy. I do think that Berks is looking and sounding redder than usual, or redder than I expected. And there are just so many educated whites in Bucks that Laura and I know. We've talked to a lot of them in that area. And they're just like mental. They have TDS, so it really is a matter of whether or not the Trump campaign can get out this other kind of voter. That this is what I think the Democrats don't understand. And you have CNN and others trying to mock the Trump campaign for doing it. If they get these voters out, they grossly outnumber the educated, affluent white. And if they get them out to the polls, Democrats don't have a prayer. It's simple arithmetic. It's very basic math. There's right? I mean, it's very basic math. In Wisconsin alone, you're talking 300 and something thousand people that are greater than 50% likely to do. It is actually, I can give you the actual number right here. 325,791. I mean, that's way bigger than Joe Biden's margin. So, I mean, that's state changing. It's cataclysmic for Democrats. Pennsylvania, Michigan, same thing. It's way more, actually, in those two states. They're larger population states. It's Pennsylvania, then Michigan, then Wisconsin by population. What happened to make Trump and Kemp play nice? I think they're both. And by the way, look, the Kemp machine is no joke, huh? Holy shit. That machine's no joke. Look at those people voting. Unbelievable. Very impressive. I just think, Matt, that Kemp is still, he's a rhino and he's a country club Southern Republican, but he ain't a Bushy. You know, like he's not quite the Bushy. He does have friends in that world, of course, and mutual people, but I don't think. And then there's, of course, the fact that Trump could probably win his state without him, right? Like he almost did anyway in 2020. And speaking of pipe bursts and stuff, he almost won it anyway. So, I mean, there's the calculation by Kemp that if you don't help, then maybe your aspirations to be a U.S. senator are out the window. All right, it's 2:34. We're going to kick rocks, all right? Don't forget, if you like watching the videos, to like them, subscribe, and share far and wide. If you are on locals, it would be great. I mean, on YouTube, it would be great if you'd mosey on over to Rumble, sign up and subscribe there. And if you're on any of those other platforms, don't forget that the best place is right below peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. I will be shooting some cross-sebs up there very soon, by the way. And if you want to see more about the poll we did with CDM, it's cdmpoll.com, and you can see all things CDM poll related there. We'll see if they do another one, but from this point forward, as it stands right now, Pennsylvania is all us, baby. So stay tuned to locals. We're going to be updating those numbers as much as we possibly can, as well as trying to give you what we think the right take is on Florida. And I don't see why we shouldn't do Michigan as well. Michigan, Pennsylvania. If he wins both those states, pull the ripcord. It's over. You know what I mean? And enjoy the ride. And that's all. All right, folks. I'm going to kick rocks and head on out of here. As always, nothing but love for you. And of course, deuces. See you later, guys. Got it. Had to get her to do it. She does it so much better than me. I'm out. Pundit out. You should have stepped into the camera. Let everybody see your beautiful face. Actually, I shouldn't want you to step into the camera because the moment you do, everyone will be like, what the hell did he do to get her? What is he doing with that ugly son of a bitch? Hot mic. Later, guys. Yeah, totally.